quiet entrance into Maté Talk today. Hello everyone, hoping everybody is well. It's good to be before you all on a Maté Talk. One thing that I haven't said in a long time is this is my Maté. Now what is Maté Talk about? It's conversation between friends. It's one continuous roll, so you're seeing mistakes as they happen. There are no cuts, so you can see the real Marcelo. One day when we meet in person, you'll get to know that this is still me. And secondly, it's about having a awesome drink. In my case, it's a mate. And mate is an Argentinian or South American drink, primarily Argentinians. I know other people want to claim it, other Latin countries, but it's an Argentinian drink, okay? The gauchos drank it, boom. And it's a communal drink. So the thing about mate is that it's something that you do with friends, and to have un matecito, as we would say, is a chance to sit down, talk about a million things. It's more than just talk about the weather. Nice weather we're having today. There's none of that. It's about, so tell me about your relationship, what's going on in your life, and you get into really deep, meaningful conversations. And so Maté Talk is about that, I guess a moment in time for us to share. I love reading your comments, so please, write in the things that you're discovering when it comes to fragrances. I'm going to share some fragrances that I really, really love. And in particular today, it's all about matching up. So this is my early love, matching up movies with fragrances. It's something that I like to do. So again, this is like a pre-warning. If you want to get quick reviews, this is not the place. I'm giving you a warning right now. It's 2 minutes, all right? This is your chance to get out while you can. If you are happy to sit and just, like I said, grab yourself a great drink and just relax and sort of let this lie low take you down this lazy river, then this is the best place for you. However, if you want short, sharp, and to the point conversation on perfumes and reviews and things of that nature, there's lots of other content that I've created on the channel that will allow you to do just that. I've even done, so here's one 10 in 10 minutes. So for those who are short on time, you can watch these and you can get an insight into different fragrances. Today, it's about, as I said, slowing down. And in particular, something that I really love, one of my early loves, is movies. So as a young boy, and I'm gonna go back to when I was like 4 or 5, and this is a true story, watching horror movies with my mother. And watching things like The Wolfman and the Dracula and Frankenstein, being scared to death because, of course, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, what in the world are we watching? But so cool. Like the memories of this, of being with my mother, watching these, Paramount, the horrors of these characters. It was just spectacular. I mean, Frankenstein is still stuck in my brain. And Wolfman, I always wanted to be the Wolfman. So today what I want to do is I'm going to talk about horror movies that I really love, and it's fun getting scared. And then the smells that I'm perceiving that would exist in these particular movies. So a little bit of fun, all in light of Halloween that's around the corner. And these are fragrances that I would recommend to you. Now, before I go any further, I do want to say announcements at the end of this production. Can you hear that? That's my wonderful wife. I wish you could see her face. It's almost like she's been stung by a bee. She's like, oh my God. She's here to work. Oh, we're gonna get a hello. Boom. I like it. So there you go. See, there's no cuts. So we're not gonna cut that out. Sandra's here to do some editing. She's a good woman. So bing, boom, boom, boom. All right, so announcements at the end of this. The main announcement will be, well, there's two announcements. One of them is all about Olfactive Traveler, new fragrance that Kevin and I have launched, a new fragrance brand. We've just finished our launch period, our pre-launch, and I'm going to give you a little bit more insight on that. There's some questions about getting into or getting stock across to the US, and then what's the next steps from here. We didn't mention that. Actually, I'll tell you at the end. I'll save that for the end. And the last point that I wanted to talk about, sorry, on Olfactive Travel, we're about to announce a launch party here in Melbourne. So just if you want to, there are chapter markers all the way through, so you can jump to the end if you want. And also Mr. George ZAHAROFF is coming back to Melbourne, which is pretty cool. And I've got some information on that I'd like to share. All right, boom, let me begin. So all things horror. Now I don't like, just as a precursor, the films that I'm about to talk about, and also films that I enjoy when it comes to the horror genre. I'm not a big fan of slasher films. So recently I watched Sinners, a lot of blood, blah, 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 blah. And it gets to a point where it's just whatever, you know what I mean? There's no dramatic impact anymore because you've seen just gallons of this fake blood being spurted everywhere. So not a huge fan of those style of films. I do like more horror films that get under your skin and sort of linger for a lot longer than what you want them to. I don't like sort of movies about Conjuring, for instance, are too scary. Those things I don't like. So I do like, you know, psychological horrors and things of that nature. So the ones I'm going to share with you today are really much based on that. As a young boy, I fell in love with Alien. So this is my first film that I want to talk about. And you got to remember that 1977, Star Wars came out, and everything to do with space and everything else was almost somewhat glamorous, you know, and like swashbuckling, you know, the old sort of Errol Flynn style movies, you know, of swinging from place to place and sword fights and whatnot. Except that it was all lightsabers. So it was a beautiful sort of fun place to be, you know, starfighters and all the rest of it. And along came this pared back, very sort of very industrial looking, not glamorous, a very dull film called Alien. And I still remember the poster, because I also, as a young kid, collected posters. I've got posters since I was 12 or 13. And I still remember the poster of the egg with that green sort of glow to it. And the caption was, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And I still remember being in the theater looking at that poster and going, this doesn't sound like Star Wars. This sounds a bit spooky. I remember watching it and just being scared to death by the alien, the xenomorph. And the way that it actually hides the creature from you, and never do you get to see the creature in full, you know, light. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you a lot of spoilers. So if I'm getting into some really deep spoiler alerts, I mean, I'm hoping that you've seen. I mean, Alien. Surely everybody has seen it by now. But if I will put a little bop here, a spoiler alert, just in case you want to watch the film and you don't want me to wreck something. This will stay here until the spoiler is done. Anyway, so what I love about this film is that it hides the monster from you, and therefore your own imagination makes it scarier than ever, you know? So that scene, I can't remember the name of the character, where he's looking for the xenomorph, and he's where the chains are, and the light is very low lit, and he's getting water on his face, and you're just going, brother, get out of there. Can you just please you know you're gonna get eaten. Interestingly though, the xenomorph, in my opinion, is not the monster of the film. In fact, this guy is the monster. This is Ash. And all the way through, you are unsettled by, and he's in broad daylight, you're unsettled by this character, and you're unsettled by how he behaves and the things that he does. And spoiler alert, the grand reveal that happens at the end when you find out that in fact he's an android, and an android who's always been plotting against the crew. At the very beginning, he actually breaks protocol and opens up the quarantine, breaks the quarantine rule, and allows John Hurt's character to come in. And then later on, as I said, you discover that in fact he's under a secret mission to bring back this life form, so that they can use it and they can weaponize it essentially. So you don't, and the great thing about this film is that you, as you're watching it for the first time, you're unsettled by the character of Ash, but you don't know why. There's something, because he's human-like, and he's, you know, everything about him is very human-esque until the very end when you realize that the guy is actually a cyborg, an android, and he has murderous intentions. So what is he wearing? So this is who I'm actually gonna put the fragrance to. He's wearing Genetic Bliss. This is a brand based out of, so the brand is called 2787, based out of Barcelona, and they're an awesome brand. If you haven't discovered, I've got a number of their fragrances. I have spoken about this brand in the past. They have a great collection, and this is one of their big hits that came out very early on. It is a molecular fragrance, so one of the key elements of it is that it's a synthetic-based fragrance note, and this creates the magic of the fragrance. The name of the perfume, Genetic Bliss, is very much aligned to the personality, and that is, and this is now I'm about to rock people's world, those who don't believe in this, skin chemistry actually is different. Fragrances activate differently on your skin. So people sort of dismiss this as not a real thing. It's a real thing. And this fragrance here, Genetic Bliss, accentuates that very point. The intention is that these synthetic molecules, or this molecule fragrance, will react now differently to you. I don't recommend you ever spray it on clothing. It's always a fragrance that you need to spray on skin. And you will find, I promise, you will find that this fragrance actually plays differently on different people. Now, I did this as a test. So firstly, this is a fragrance that my son has, Nelson. He loves it because for him, he gets a very distinct sandalwood woody fragrance. It's actually quite a pronounced woody fragrance. On me, completely different. I get more of a cashmerean. Now these are my words, and I'm going to share with you in a second how Grace, what she smelled when she smelled the fragrance on me. So I get like a very soft cashmerean, almost sweet wood touch to the fragrance. It's not as woody. So Nelson, my son, it's a lot more woodier. It's a lot more defined. It's a lot more pronounced on him. Whereas on me, it's a lot softer, a lot more pared back. Now, interestingly, I did, Grace did spray this fragrance, and on her, and this is her words, and this is what I was detecting too, she gets a spiciness from the fragrance. There is like a peppery nature in the scent profile. It does have a fragrant on Grace. It does have a fragrant, sweet, woody. All along, it will be. I mean, there are some woods in the fragrance, being sandalwood and agicala wood. There's one more in there. Another, I can't remember. Anyway, boom, here it is. So there are wood notes in the actual fragrance, but it's this molecular element, this synthetic element, that's creating the real distinct magic and twists it and makes it something completely different. Gorgeous fragrance. So one that I would strongly recommend if you want something that is distinctly you, that could become your signature scent. I've heard, I don't do it, that it's great for layering. So if you want to now accentuate another fragrance or some florals or something of that nature, then this would be a great base, and then you put the other one on top and now creates a new scent profile, a new sense of magic. Boom. But this is what Ash is wearing, and this is why he flies under the radar. No one realizes, because even the crew of, what was the ship? It was called, forgotten. Here it is. Even the crew did not know that Ash was actually an android. But if you haven't seen that movie, recommend it. Boom. All right, next one. Now I was going to say the beautiful people of Fragrance Artisans are where I get my stuff from. So I do want to give a shout out to those guys. This fragrance here and the next three will also be from Fragrance Artisans. So this is for the Aussies. If you want to know where to find this stuff, check them out. You'll find that their stuff is quite impressive. They have a broad collection. Allora, all right, next movie. Now, I've been watching all these films, so I've been sort of deep diving in preparation for today back into these films and seeing, one, how do they stand against the test of time. Most of these I've seen multiple times, and it was fun to revisit this next one. This is Rosemary's Baby. I saw this years and years ago and fell in love with it. I mean, I was creeped out by the whole concept. I also loved the way the film, in a very innocent, delicate way, moves through to this climatic ending. It was done in 1968, and the other thing that I love about this film, other than, I love all things Roman Polanski, I think he's an incredible director, but I love the way that the two female leads, so Mia Farrow and the older lady, Ruth Gordon, both of these women are a power force in acting. They're just so engrossed, they're so engaging in the way they deliver their part. Mia is this beautiful balance between this innocent, delicate nature that she has. You really feel for her, and you feel her sense of manipulation by all those characters around her. And then Ruth, who is she is just the perfect meddling old woman, you know, just her character, and it's fun, she's incredible because there's an equal part where you really don't like her, but at the same time, you find her like, she's like my grandmother. I mean, she's just, you know, she's just being friendly. The whole point of this film is to break, and this is why I loved it when I first watched it, to break the norm of the classic horror genre. And that was that evil people are amongst us. That was so it's a psychological horror film in the sense that evil doesn't necessarily wear an ugly face. That evil can actually be the man or the friend next door, essentially. In this case, Ruth Gordon, the woman next door, the grandmother. So it's actually quite it really gets under your skin and gets into your head. The other part that I really love is that and this is the part that broke my heart when I watched the film, that the husband, Mia Farrow's husband, is such a loser. I hated him. I hated him because he never defended her. He never defended his wife. But this was also a social commentary about how, back in 1968, this dissolve of the domestic relationship, where you know there was a disconnect between husbands and wives and men and women, essentially. I mean, the classic themes of you know, how do you say this without getting, I don't want to get all progressive and all the rest of it, but that a woman needs to be respected, essentially. That's the core of it, and not back in when the film was actually created, that she wasn't just at the mercy of the man, of the husband in the house. So there's a really complex theme. It's a horror film at the end of the day. The end of it, and again, go back to Mia Farrow's character, where she is so delicate and so reliant on her husband, and eventually slowly begins to become a force within herself. I love the scene near the end where she's walking, and the way she's holding, she has a knife in her hand, and the way she's holding this knife is just, it's just, again, Roman Polanski, beautiful directing, incredible, the way the camera moves and her face, her determination. You got to see it. It's the ending is pretty intense, but intense for 1968. So it shocked everybody back then. Today, with all the blood and gore and blah blah, you probably go, "What's the big deal?" What is the smell? Hang on, before I go there, let's make sure. Okay. The whole thing, the underlying theme is that there are witches everywhere. And so for me, I remember as I was sort of prepping all this, I was thinking of films that I love and what would be the scent profile. And this was easier. I thought Rosemary's Baby, and I'm like, oh, so ANDREA MAACK is the perfume house. Again, this is an incredible house, has a lot of beautiful fragrances. I have spoken about them before. And this is called craft. And I would even say that this is like witchcraft. So that's the way I would extend it. Craft is, and like in the movie Rosemary's Baby, hence why for me this was an easy match, that craft has unusual notes. It is incense to my profile. It is incense based. That has this incense sort of theme running through it. but it's so pleasant, so inviting, so disarming, so alluring, sweet, and I think inviting, which draws you in, like the witches in Rosemary's Baby, because at no stage, so again, in the movie, Rosemary's forever inviting them into her home and becoming very close, and as a result, this is why the husband gets seduced by making these, by going to the dark side, essentially, because he was seduced by power and money and all the rest of it. So craft is a fragrance where, yes, it uses an incense note, which sometimes people can find a little bit polarizing and a little bit like, don't like it. I know Sandra doesn't like incense necessarily in fragrance, and yet yesterday, as I was wearing this, I moved around, I did something, and she's like, wow, what are you wearing? That's really, really beautiful. And that is craft. It is just a gorgeous, well-balanced incense note that's in there that really does draw you in. Honestly, this is gorgeous. I mean, for me, I do love incense fragrances. It's something that I resonate towards. The magic here is that, so the elemi, there is an elemi note in the fragrance, and I feel like the elemi, this resin, has all the facets that make up that note, make it beautiful, which is the balsamic, the slightly woody, sort of cedar-like quality to it. It has a touch of spiciness, almost clove-like. It has a spicy woodiness, clove element to it. There are notes when it's been described that aldehydes, which is fair enough, so it accentuates certain elements of it, but also icy notes. And I think there's even watery notes, metallic. That's the other one, metallic. Now, I don't get these facets. When I'm smelling, for me, the incense balsamic elemi element produces itself or comes forward a lot clearer. I do get a sweetness from it and a softness. What's the time? Sorry, I just heard my camera click and I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna stop on me soon. So it is. So yeah, these notes are quoted to be in the fragrance. I don't necessarily get them, essentially. For me, it's a sweet incense with a very gentle touch. The beautiful thing about it is that it has great longevity. So when it comes to its presence and sillage, I find that it's like a moderate to low. I'd now been wearing it, this is yesterday, I'd now been wearing it for close to 6 hours. I did have it on skin, and Sandra was able to detect it deeper in the days, as when after I left the office, gone home. So it does have presence, but now as you move around, it's not something that has like a great sort of moderate push on it. Again, if you're a witch, you don't want to be too pronounced. You don't want to make too much of a statement of what your intentions are. You do want to be subtle and fly under the radar. So this is a great, not that you want to be a witch, but it's a really good fragrance for close sort of contact. It's office friendly. It's an easy fragrance to wear. The sweetness in there does, or the sweet elements in there does also make it appealing. So it's not church-like in any way, but the incense is definite and present. I think I actually wrote that. I said that it's pleasant but present. So the incense is definitely you know, you can discern it, but it's very appealing and draws you in. Boom. I think that's all. I'm gonna stop and I'll be right back. I'm back. All right, next one. This is a film that I love, but it is highly disturbing. So if you're going through a difficult time in your life, if you have got some very dark thoughts, I don't recommend you watch this film because some of the themes in here are super heavy. We did a live with all things olfactive traveler, Mohammed, who's actually a gentleman from Norway. And I asked him the question, have you seen this movie, Midsummer? And his first response is like, whoa, that's super creepy. That's really, that's a creepy film. And I think that's the best way to define it. This is a super creepy film that will get under your skin. The other part that's absolutely amazing about this film is that everything is, because the central theme is Midsummer, which is a celebration, pastoral celebration that is occurring in Sweden. This is where, it's an American film, but it's set in Sweden, for those who haven't seen it. I'm going to put there's going to be a lot of spoilers here, because if you haven't seen this film, I'm going to give a lot away, because it needs to happen so you can get an essence of what is the smell that is happening throughout this whole place. The film is slow but pacey at the same time, meaning that there are some very still moments, and the still moments, there's multiple themes in this film also, and the still moments is really to reflect upon the juxtaposition between the life of Florence's life within the US, and then the life that she's experiencing within this Swedish communal community that she's in. One of the opening scenes, which I absolutely adore, is this guttural humming or sound that's being emanated as you're seeing this very sparse forested area with the snow covering and mist and everything else. And then it cuts to seeing like a suburb with lots of houses and lights. And I'm not going to go into what that means, because I have a very clear thought of what that is, but okay, I'll tell you. It's basically saying how we are so removed from one another. Even though you have this forested area, which you would think is not populated or very small populated, yet in this area, the people are closer, as opposed to the suburb, where it's highly populated, houses one next to each other, but we are so distant from one another. This disconnect that's actually happening within society, that we don't know who our neighbors are, you know? Then there's the theme of death and dying, and our fear within the Western world of these two particular themes, and how this is then seen within this communal, or in this community. And the other theme of family and relationship, and how we suffer alone, and how suffering can occur within a family, which is a lot more supported and you're strengthened because of family units, and how this also has been eroding within the Western sort of countries and stuff like that. Super deep themes. Like I said, I've seen this movie multiple times. It gets under your skin like crazy. Yeah, I think about it quite often. Visually, it's stunning. The director, Ari, he's incredible, but he's I'm going to say he's very disturbed, because some of the visuals that he creates are just like, you know, like, have you seen, another horror movie, Danny in The Shining, when he sees when he's having the shining visions, and he's got that big eyes, and that's the sort of feeling that I get when I watch some of these visuals, that especially in this movie Midsummer. But it's incredible acting. The set pieces are just phenomenal. The talent that they recreate is incredible. The cinematography, the way the camera moves, the gruesomeness of some of these situations, the horror that occurs at certain moments in time. I tell you, this movie does not leave you very easily. Now, one of the reoccurring themes is fire, and you're introduced to fire very early in the actual film, and then at the very end, fire is a central part to the film itself. And it was so easy. For me, it's Terror and Magnificence by BEAFORT in London. So for me, this is the smell that I can smell everywhere. As soon as you walk into the Swedish community, it's in the building, which have been there for quite some time. It's all around you. The fire is an important element, and so the smell of smoke and the smell of wood burning and other things burning is part of the theme in this film here. It's interesting that, and again this juxtaposition of these two themes, where the family of Florence's character, forgot the character's name, they die through inhalation of poisonous gases. And there's one scene where you see these gases emerging. I mean, she's having a dream out of her mouth, and it's black and it's insidious and it's like an enemy force. You know, it's dark and ugly. Whereas fire, on the other hand, is redemptive, and it's the way that it's shown here. It chases away evil. It's about purity and about purging. So it's interesting how these two, and again, I think it's this, you know, looking at Western society and then this community, and how these two are, you know, juxtapositioning against each other. Anyway, I'd really recommend it. But again, if you're going through dark moments in your life, don't go see it. Don't watch it, because it is quite intense. But if you want to watch something spooky that will stay with you forever, then Midsummer is an awesome film. The smell, again, going back to here, Terror and Magnificence. Now, when this fragrance opens, it is terror, and it is designed to be beautifully horrible. The intense, so Ricardo, my good friend my Chilean friend that lives in Poland. Ricardo, my friend, if you don't have this already, this is one you would love. I already know it. This will become your signature scent, because it opens up with such terror and such intensity that it's arresting. It sort of takes you back. It alarms you at the intensity of the fragrance. You get a mixture of, on that opening, of this smoke, this wood burning, you know, this dense, but it's not smoke as much as it is burning wood. You know, you're getting the sense of some kind of wood element, but there is that smokehouse component to it. You're getting a very dense, a very deep sense of a leather touch. I'm going to say it's like a birch tar, so really charcoal almost. And then you get this intense booziness, this alcohol on overdrive. All these things are happening all at once. Now, this is one, as I was preparing, I would spray a little, sit a little, and then I'll say to Gracie, smell this, what do you think of this one? And her response to this is like, whoa. And I said to her, if you came around a corner in a dark alley and you all of a sudden see this figure and you can smell that, what's the thought? And she's like, just run, you know? So there is a sense of ominous terror in the opening of this fragrance. Now here's the magnificence, because the name is Terror and Magnificence. Now, the magnificence is the dry down. And so on that opening, it's really just super intense. You're like, why in the world would anybody want to be wearing this? It's the transition through as you move from that opening, as it comes now where I am now, which has now been about an hour and a half. The magnificence is this ambery, again, incense quality to it, but with a slight leather touch. There's still the woodiness in the actual fragrance, but that smokehouse, that intensity that you felt at the beginning begins to come, or has come completely off, and it becomes something quite, it's actually something that is very distinct and it's pronounced. It has presence. I found that the sillage on this is in the moderate. In the air, it's something quite divine for those who love Terroni, for instance. Terroni is a baby compared to this monster here. So Terroni has those beautiful, smoky, woody, but sweet elements. There's some sweetness in here. There's no sweetness here. It does have, as I said, that ambery component to it, or that more incense-like quality to it. But it's spectacular. It's a gorgeous fragrance. Now, going back to the film and the Terror and the Magnificence, there is a moment in time where a couple is cremated in the film, and that's the terror, the fire, consuming these bodies and, you know, burning them up essentially. The difference is that it's now, you know, you've seen this scene sort of play out with the fire and everything else. The next day, they've been cremated essentially, and the tray gets pulled out, and now this is the magnificence. Their ashes are then taken and put onto the ancestral tree. This is what the film is described. And so the circle of life gets renewed again, in the sense that now these, you know, this material, this composition is now put against this tree, which now continues to give life to everything else around them. So anyway, again, I've analyzed it too deeply. The Terra Magnificence, a great fragrance as a statement maker. If you love horribly beautiful fragrances, you would love that. It's definitely a statement maker. Let me take a little drink. I think I've done pretty good, yes. Okay. The next one, everyone should watch. So this next film, this is now for everybody. This is an awesome, it's probably one of the best vampire movies ever. And I know it's a big call, but it's one of the best vampire movies. I watched it again recently, and I've seen it so many times. I just love, love, love this film. It's a Swedish film. It's called Let the Right One In. And what I love about this is that, again, multiple themes occurring here, and it's a coming-of-age film, essentially. So the character of Oscar, the young, sort of bullied boy who doesn't fit in and kind of awkward and kind of weird, and how he befriends, spoiler alert, everyone, how he befriends a young vampire. And the essence is that the vampire looks like a female. And this relationship begins to occur between these two characters. It's incredible because it is a horror film, and there are moments of horror in the film, but it's such a tender display of relationship, of friendship. The actual, and I've never watched it dubbed, so I've always watched it in Swedish, so they're speaking, and sort of read the subtitles, and you can feel something in the language, even though I don't completely, and sometimes subtitles don't quite match. I know that when I watch a film in Spanish and I read the subtitles, you miss I guess the core nuances of what's actually being said. But even in reading it, there's a tenderness in this interplay between these two characters and the relationship that evolves from them. The film is slow, so heads up, everyone. If you like, so your slasher fest, watch Sinners. You'll enjoy that. A lot of things happening, a lot of color and movement, bing, boom, boom, blood going everywhere. But if you want something that's deep and soulful and something that will resonate in your mind, will stay with you for quite some time, please watch this film. It's one of those that I become very evangelical. Anyone I stop, but I say, watch this film, let the right one in. Now, Hollywood did make a remake. Do not watch that one. That's not the one you want to watch. Watch the Swedish film. I would recommend you do watch it in Swedish and then read subtitles. Smelling is an important element in this film. So Eli, the young vampire, actually it's young, but we don't really know how old she is. And the perception is that she's actually very, very old. She's a very old soul. When she doesn't eat, when she's hungry, she smells unusual. And so smelling is an important element to this film. This is another one where I'm like, I know what this smells like. I know what Eli smells like. Ellie, sorry. I know what Ellie is smelling like. And then when she does eat, when she's, has satisfied her vampire hunger, she smells different again. All right, so the fragrance is, boom, boom, I'll tell you now, it's George ZAHAROFF's AURUM. I love this fragrance, by the way. This is gorgeous. If you love honey, if you love ambery fragrances, if you love sort of seductive with an animalic nature to it, then this is gorgeous. Now let me tell you a little bit more why I landed on this so quickly. Years ago, some people might not know, I am a beekeeper. I've had a beehive now for 10 plus years. And years ago, when I first got my beehive, unfortunately, I was a complete novice for starters. But unfortunately, the beehive that I bought from the third party was a little bit, there was diseases in it. There's a thing called chalk brood, and it basically means, brood is the name of the babies that are in the cell, and chalk brood means that there's some kind of fungus that gets in the cell and mummifies that brood. So they literally, these little mummies of the bee, which is very sad to see, these, and it looks like chalk. They're sort of white and they're dead. So early on, I got this beehive, and because I was, one, it was already had some disease in it, and two, I was a complete novice. We came into winter, and the hive was in a very weak state. Now, throughout winter, I remember I could see something was not right. I could see the bees, because they obviously this chalk brood is not what they want, so they're throwing this out, and I could see all this chalk brood down the bottom. I'm like, what is going on? And trying to understand and learn. And the other thing too that really alerted me something was not right was the smell that the beehive was emanating. It had a yeasty, fermented, not putrid, but sour. There was something was not right. It had like a weird, acrid smell that was emanating from there. Actually, even it wasn't so much it wasn't acrid. It was more sour, and it was definitely very dense, mildewy. That's the word. I remember opening up the hive, and it was complete carnage in there. There was these big fat slugs. I tell you, when I saw this, my heart broke, and anger fled through me at the same time to see these big fat slugs inside my beehive. These poor bees. So there are 8 frames in this particular hive, and they had reduced themselves down to 2 or 3, and the rest of these frames, because the way the bees work is that they start from the middle and they push themselves out, basically. It's about containing heat within the actual hive. And because they had diminished so badly, and because the chalk brood and everything else, they were down to like 3 or 4 frames, and the rest was now being occupied by these slugs and other horrible things. It was like a horror movie. But one thing that has never left me was the smell. The smell, and I guess there was the smell and the visual horror of seeing all this stuff in here, which just broke my heart, and the repulsive nature of what I was smelling. So this is what, so back to the movie, Let the Right One In, this is what Ellie is smelling. When she doesn't eat, she smells like that hive. The honey has gone off, it's fermented, it's yeasty, there's a mildewiness to her. And in the movie, Oscar, smells her and says, "You smell weird." And I remember, again, going back to my hive, it smelled weird. That's what alerted me, and this is why I opened up the hive and all the rest of it. I'm proud to say that I did save that particular hive and that queen and the bees that were there. I took awesome care of it. I worked so hard to make sure that I protected these bees, to help them through the winter and all the rest of it. Anyway, that hive is now glorious. I opened it up the other day. So it's been 10 years, so there's multiple queens that have come through there, but that core hive has always remained as, you know, the hive that's remained or evolved. I opened up the other day, and the smell in there is this wonderful mixture of honey, so this beautiful ambery, sweet, delicate, sort of fragrant nature, then the smell of the wax. The wax itself has also a very deep, dense, honey-like quality to it. And then the actual bees themselves, the animalic nature of these bees. I was joyful. I was opening up this hive. I was requeening. Here's the image of my new queen in her queen cage. I was putting a new queen in there, and the smell in there is just glorious. Now, this is what this fragrance is. So when Ellie, keep calling Eli, when Ellie has eaten, and again, there's a second scene where she says to him, she reemerges and says, and she looks pretty, she's got color in her face again, and her hair looks like it's been combed, and she says to Oscar, "Do I smell nice now?" And he's like, "Yeah, you smell good." But then there's a moment where she's working on this Rubik's Cube, and you see him sort of smelling the back of her neck, you know. So she's smelling of this. So AURUM is now the beautiful, robust, animalic and resplendent beehive. It now has this honey amberous touch. It is sensuous. It has a sensuality to it. It has an amorous nature. You know, you smell this and you want to draw close. And I love wearing it. So this is a great, coming into winter for the Northern Hemisphere, please check out AURUM. I even went as far as I actually did spray bee. So zoologist bee, I washed it off because I'm like, no. Almost I felt not repulsed, but I felt, because it's a beautiful fragrance, I love it. But it was destroying the image of what what Ellie should be wearing. B, zoologist version, is too floral, way too floral. Whereas I find that AURUM has this wonderful animalic nature. For me, again, this is my beehive. This is this beautiful blend of all these elements that makes the beehive so beautiful to open up and to engage with. And that's definitely what she is wearing. And if you haven't seen the film, watch it. You'll absolutely love it. I'm gonna stop one more time because this, one last stop and then I'll come back. Boom. I'm back. All right, so last one that I'd like to, this is gonna be this one's gonna be a bit shorter. I did warn you, so if someone's going, what in the world, 10 hours on fragrance review, well, I warned you at the beginning. One of the first loves of my life was definitely all things movie and just really enjoying that as a medium. I become a little bit, I hate the dumbing down of cinema sorry, I'm gonna get some people upset now, but I hate the dumbing down of cinema these days. Don't tell me, let me, I find it more exciting when things are shared in a way that me as the viewer can decipher it on my own. You don't need to tell me every step of the way what is happening. Let me unbox it in my own way, reinterpret it. I love movies like that. And all the ones that I've shared with you today are movies that are, yeah, they let you work things out. Going back to MIDSOMER, if you haven't watched, if you're gonna watch that closing, what's that ending about? Like she looks crazy when she smiles. So there's something a lot deeper down in that path. Anyway, they're the things that I enjoy. The last one is a film that I saw as a young man during the 80s. I think the two biggest names when it comes to horror was Stephen King. Did a lot of books, and obviously they got turned into films and all the rest of it. He definitely was a major player within that genre. And then there is George A. Romero. That without him, he is the grandfather of all things zombie. If you're enjoying your zombie flicks of any sort, then you could thank George A. Romero for that, because he was the one that really brought all that to life. Now these two partnered up and created the most schlocky, kooky, what's another word I used here? Goofy kind of horror film ever. It was very saturated in colors, and it was the opposite of the dark and very heavy horror films. However, the themes in the show is called CREEPSHOW. The themes within this film, I tell you, they get under your skin also. They really play on your mind. So visually, it's very schlocky, and the way that it all gets presented. Even the acting is a little bit over the top and kind of like a vaudeville, over exaggerated. But the themes in it are fantastic. So there's there's all these little vignettes basically in the film. The ones that really resonate, if you haven't watched it, I would recommend to you. One is called The Crate. I tell you, those eyes you will see as you, when you wake up at night and you go to the toilet, you look across and you'll see these two eyes, and I tell you, you will run back to bed, because you're always safer when you get back into bed and cover yourself with your blanket. The other one is the cockroach one. Oh my gosh, that was the scariest thing. But the one, believe it or not, that scared me the most as a kid was, and it's called The Lonesome Death of Jordy VERRILL. This one here, this was a psychological, just like killer for me, because the core theme of it, in my opinion, is when does good luck turn into bad luck? And the closing scene in this particular vignette is one of the saddest, one of the most heartbreaking. Even my mental picture is horrible. This was one that I tell you, I don't know, for some reason it resonated in my brain as a kid, and even now I'm like, and it's not even scary necessarily. It's more, as I said, and some unfortunate events that turns into extreme bad luck to Jordy. But the core of it is he finds a meteorite And as a result, slowly starts to turn into some sort of swamp monster, this green, growing entity that overwhelms this thing overwhelms him. He's an image of what it looks like. Interestingly, for those who know, this is actually Stephen King who played the part. This, and I look at the image and I smell this baby here. This is male FUSCIUNI's last season. Now, as I was building, let me just point something out here. As I was building this this horror fest of fragrances, I thought to myself, I got to put a male somewhere in here. Male FUSCIUNI has to live because, you know, his embrace of the dark, as he likes to call it, his dark phase, his embrace of the dark definitely is accentuated in his fragrances. Now, last season is his most sort of like moist earth and joyous and alive fragrance, and it fits the character of JORDY perfectly, because this is, as I said, this mossy green entity that's growing on him is a living thing. And I find that last season celebrates the earth. It celebrates green. It celebrates herbaceousness. It celebrates moist earth and damp and wet and things of that nature. If you look at the notes, it's like everything green and earth-like male has put into this particular fragrance, including Maté, so this herbaceous sort of green element to it. When it opens, sorry, before I go there, this is the most powerful fragrance you're ever likely to wear. If you like a fragrance also Oillataguerre VERRILL, well, last season is its father. VERRILL is the little child in the relationship. Last season is definitely the more prominent creature in this space. The difference is that VERRILL does go into more of a danky, sort of slightly rotting earth, whereas last season always remains as a celebration of the earth, of a breathing, living entity. There is a sense of, there's no decaying, there's no anything that's sort of going mildewy or danky. Everything is about moist and about greenness, things that are growing and living. And it is potent. It is, I mean, do not overspray. You will, three houses down, someone will come knocking on your door going, what in the world? What is that smell? So spray sparingly. It is a beautiful, and this, interestingly, so VERRILL I find is more of a masculine leaning fragrance, whereas here, comfortably a woman can wear this. And I think it's because of its living entity that it has, this sort of greenness that it has that is alive. There are no florals. So there are well, not that I could detect, and again, I'm pretty certain in the notes there are no florals. Everything here really is more about celebrating the earth and its lusciousness, but the greenness of it, not the florals or, you know, fruits or anything of that nature. When it opens up, it does have a very strong, actually I wrote it down because I'm deep in the dry down now. Oh yeah. So think cut grass, it does have a leathery touch, but more of that birch tree. So not leather animalic, more, so for those who know, the original source of leather was birch tar. This is what the Russians would scrape on their boots and things of that nature, and that gave it the leather smell. So it has that birch green alive sense to it. It does have a very woody nature to it, but again, definitely think cut grass as your beginning. And it's very cut grass. When you first open, it's like someone has just finished mowing the lawn. Where I am now, I'm very much in that woody, as I said, damp earth, vetiver style of fragrance. There is that touch of the birch tar still present here. There is patchouli in here too, so it has that dankiness from the patchouli, but everything is about growth and growing as opposed to anything mildewy and dying. That's pretty much it. So JORDY definitely smells like this, and it's something that's alive and ready to go. I would recommend it. It's a male FUSCIUNI. I'm very much, I mean, male is about storytelling. there's no denying his touch in this particular fragrance. Now, a lot of these fragrances, what's the time? Yes, a lot of these fragrances you can get through Fragrance Artisan. I know that actually these 3 here, these 4 here, boom, are all part of the Fragrance Artisan collection. The last one being the ZAHAROFF is from Oillataguerre. So this is for Aussies. If you want to explore these fragrances, that's where you can actually find them. Boom. All right. Bada bing. I would love to hear your thoughts on these movie selections that I just did. If you've had a chance to smell these fragrances or even own them, do you agree? Do they fit into the characters or even the scene that these movies are about? Just so you know, all of these are beautiful fragrances to wear and ones that I very much enjoy wearing. But I just wanted to, you know, tie it into the horror of in connection to Halloween. Now, announcements. So in closing, I wanted to just confirm again about Olfactive Traveler. So this is the fragrance brand that Kevin and I have released or just launched. For those who may not be familiar with this conversation, here are some productions that we've done. This gives you an insight into what's its backstory, what is it connected to, why did we do an Italian collection? For those who are familiar, we have a business called KM Fragrance Tours, in which we do the behind the scenes when it comes to all things fragrance. We also delve deeper into the location that we're in with the different countries. This year we were in Italy, and we used the perfumer Luca Maffei, who was actually part of the tour, and he created these fragrances in celebration of Rome, Milan, and Florence. Now, we just finished a pre-sale period. We had a fantastic promo. Thank you for those people who participated. The next steps from here is that mid-November onwards, we're just getting some final pieces coming in, the boxes, the tissue boxes and things of that nature as we bring all this and start getting ready to send out. So mid-November onwards, all that will then begin to be shipped out. The one question that we are getting a lot of, the one point that we're getting a lot of questions on is what is happening in the US. At this moment in time, we were hoping to have an easy, quick solution into getting this happening. It's become a lot more complex than what we anticipated. Just to give you some background, Kevin has another brand called Soko, and he was already sending stock to the US. There's been some changes of late, and as a result, the company that we're intending to use, which is a third-party distribution center, have stopped sending parcels to the US. This is also connected to the fact that here our Australia Post have put some restrictions and complications, blah, blah, blah. So we were hoping to have an easy solution through this. It's become a bit more complex. We're still working to find a way through this, but now we're looking for a bigger solution, something a little bit more long-term, basically. We are hoping, and this is what we're working towards, that the moment that we start shipping, mid-November, that we will already have had the solution in place so that we can now open this up to the US. With the intention that come mid-November onwards, we're now shipping to the entire world and not just Europe and Australia and things of that nature, or in Asia. We've had quite a number of sales in these locations, which is fantastic. So we are working very hard to make sure that all this is in place. Now, one of the fragrances that has received a lot of great attention is called Pelle Viola. It's our leather iris combination. The iris in the actual fragrance is a unique natural ingredient that is only found within Luca Maffei's company, AFM. This is a farm that they own in Florence. Because it's a small yield farm, only 1.3 ton per annum, he's allocated enough, material, enough iris to put into our fragrances that we can only create 500 bottles for this season. When the next harvest is available, 2026, we'll see how much Luca can put aside. One thing that we are, and this is what Luca also verifies, one thing that we love about this concept is that nature every year will develop its own nuance. So we know that this fragrance is going to be slightly different every season. This is what we want. Think of it like a wine vintage. The vintage will change depending on the conditions of that particular year, the soil, the rain, all that sort of element. So this is something that we want to lean into and celebrate. So and we are actually certifying this, so there will be a certificate of authenticity that this iris is coming from Luca Maffei's farm, which is called Iris Blue in Florence. Now, one fragrance that has also received a lot of, sorry, going back to that, and the reason why I was telling you that is that we have limited number. That has sold, that's become our best seller in this pre-sale. That's become our #1 seller. And once that allocation of 500 is gone, it's gone, and until the next season, we can reproduce some more. So our friends in the US, one thing that we have created is, and I've been calling it a wish list, but I think it's called Reserve. Anyway, here's the video. If you are interested in this particular product, we are putting it aside. So all you got to do is just reserve it. We're not asking you for any money. All we're doing is asking you guys if you're interested in this and put it aside for yourself. Then once we've solved the Rubik's Cube puzzle of what is sending product to the US, then we will loop back to these individuals, to you guys who've reserved this, and then you have the opportunity to either purchase it or go, no, not for me. We'd like to say, oh, actually, one thing that we'll do is we will also honor the promo that we've currently done, that we've just come out of, which is that you'll, whatever full bottle that you buy, you also receive the OT Traveler Set free of charge, okay, complimentary, which is valued at $160, which is an awesome gift. But anyway, as we get to that, I promise that I will re-announce. Now, one of the other fragrances, this is one here is running in second place, and this is the glorious ROMA 271. You can see the box behind me. Here is the visual poster of this. Now, this is one, if you haven't watched this particular production, I'd recommend you do. It's a great backstory. There was a little bit of arm wrestling between Kevin and myself. Kevin had a vision for Rome, for it to be this Roman gladiator, you know, bold and citrusy and effervescent and vibrant, and the thought of creating a fragrance with those profiles for my sacred Rome was breaking my heart. And so this video here talks about the way that the two of us creatively worked through this, and in the end, the fragrance won because, and again, I'm not going to spoil the thunder. Watch that video, you'll get an idea. But the fragrance, the scent profile, won. The reason why I'm showing it to you now is because the other day, Grace, my editor, was going out for dinner, said to me, what fragrance should I wear for tonight? I said, you know, I sort of quizzed her, where you're going, what's it going to be, what's blah, blah, blah. And I thought, you know what, you should wear Roma 271 because it's going to fit your environment perfectly. Now, before I started, Grace is doing a focus pull, and she said to me, I need to report back that both my friends who I was having dinner with that evening, without any form of teasing it out of them or prompting, both said, the fragrance you're wearing today is awesome. Is that what they said, Grace? So what did they say exactly, your two friends? Oh. Okay, there you go. So both said, you smell nice. I gave it a little bit more, you know, a bit more chutzpah to it. I elaborated a bit more. But the bottom line is gorgeous fragrance. This is something quite stunning. It's very complex in the sense that the coffee note in the beginning, the blood orange that happens in there, and actually I will go into why we have those particular keynotes in there. Then as it begins to dry down, it does have, and I dubbed it as a soulful amber because it has these incense quality. It does have an amber-like quality. There are some more of these woody elements in its dry down. It's luxurious, it's gorgeous. And as an evening fragrance, as a going out fragrance, one that I would recommend to you because I love it. Bada bing. All right, last thing is Mr. George ZAHAROFF is coming to town. Sorry, one last thing. For OT, Melbourneites, we'd love you to put aside the date Saturday the 6th of December. We are doing a, so we've done a soft launch basically, you know. We're now gonna do the proper launch. This is gonna happen on the Saturday. I will share more details in the coming week. It is a limited capacity, so we are looking at a venue that has a set number of people. So we will have to, we'll create something where you have to register essentially. So if you'd like to be a part of that, I would already sort of flag that the 6th of December is a date that we'd love you to put aside, which is a Saturday. It'll be here in Melbourne, and so that'll be great for us to celebrate together the launch of Olfactive Traveler. As I mentioned, George ZAHAROFF is coming to town. He will be here on the 8th of November, which is probably 2 or 3 weeks away. It is a Saturday. Oligarch, I believe, will do something. Whatever happens, bottom line is, if once I know more about George's visit and what is planned, I'll make sure to share it with everyone. But if you also put that in your calendar, 8th of November, a chance to, if you want to meet George, who's an awesome man, and of late, he's created a number of like back-to-back hits, I think, when it comes to the fragrances that are coming through from him. So if you want to meet him in person, it'll be a great opportunity. Boom. That is one long Maté talk. I think I've exceeded the 1 hour mark, but that's because I've combined 2 of the love of my life, one movies and the other one fragrances, and forget about it. I'm hoping that you had an awesome drink, and I do look forward to reading your comments, and I will do my best to answer every single one of them. And until next week, have an awesome week, everybody. See you on the next Maté Talk.